keynotes that we had going on, and I was also going to, I was trying to see what all different vendors we could get a hold of in order to, get my foot in the door, introduce myself and all that. And I actually talked to, we can go ahead and get into this part. I actually was able to talk to 2 different vendors. I was able to talk to Spectre. They are pretty famous when it comes to making monitors, as well as like ultra-wide monitors. They actually they announced 6 different monitors going into the market this year. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. And then I also, and the main reason I'm looking at monitors is because you guys asked me to. I tried to get a hold of LG Display. They had a couple different people as well, and their little waiting room thing. So I did send out some feelers to them, but they never responded. And then, Panasonic's there, Samsung's there, all sorts of different vendors. I'm going to keep trying to do my best to get a hold of some of these other people. But there's also all sorts of other things to look at. I tried to get a hold of EK Water Blocks. I tried to get a hold of Intel. AMD really didn't have any people to talk to at the exhibit floor. So I thought that was kind of weird. But there's all sorts of other cool stuff. I talked to Ace Computers as well. We can talk about that shortly. And then the last company I want to talk about, and we'll talk about, of course, here in a second, is ADATA. They are, I've been really impressed with their solid state disks, and I've actually was like, man, guys, why don't y'all have a 4th generation NVMe drive? And they're like, we do. Look for it here on Newegg. I was like, wow, I'm an idiot. I guess I should have looked at this stuff better. But they're like, oh no, don't worry about it. Sometimes, the branding and stuff trips me out. So I went and read their press briefing about all the different products and stuff they've got going on. So that's who we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the Spectre monitors that were released. We're going to be talking about the ADATA products that are going to be coming out as well. Too bad they are not on the list of monitors with 360 hertz displays. They've got some monitors that are pretty high up there, especially considering they're IPS for the most part, and they are ultra wides. So let's talk about Spectre. So they are announcing 3 different monitors. Let's see if I can throw this up on the screen real quick. Or 6 different monitors, sorry. They've got 3 different, or 2 different brands. It's their Prime brand as well as their Nebula brand. And these are based, I'm not too familiar with them. I don't cover, is this one? Yeah, that's the one. Cool. I don't typically cover monitor products here on the channel much, but I think it'd be something cool to test and talk about later. So I went and asked them, hey, what y'all guys got coming up? They've got 2 different brands coming. It's going to be their Prime series and their Nebula series. And let's talk about their Primes first. So this is the big ticket item. This is their big 49-inch curved ultra-wide panel. I think it's like 32 by 9. It's a crazy resolution. It's like 5K by 1440p. 49 inches diagonal diameter, or diagonal size. It is massive. I think this might even be a similar panel to what I saw at DreamHack in 2019. And like I sat behind it with my GoPro, and the GoPro had to be like on my chest in order to get the whole screen on it. It's massive. And what's crazy, guys, it's a VA panel, which is pretty decent. It's got a 120 hertz refresh rate. That is awesome. The response time is not as good, but it's pretty decent. It's not too big. That's the thing, though. If y'all watched the Nvidia press conference at the end, I can show you guys real quick why you would want this monitor. Okay, sorry for jumping back and forth. But this is why you would want this monitor, because those little thin bitty bezels are going to be what drives you nuts. But with this big whole monitor from Spectre, I'll throw it back on screen here, at 49 inches, you can basically replace those 3 different panels with a single screen. And it's going to be so immersive. So your flight sims, your race car games, all of that immersion is just going to be enhanced super duper, man. It's awesome. Yep. people will buy those purely for racing sim. Continuing through the specs, 4 millisecond response time. It's not great, but it's not bad. And here's where things get a little bit tricky with the Spectre stuff. So they actually have a bunch of different HDR ratings on their motherboards, on their monitors. And this one is only HDR 400 ready. So make sure you guys, when y'all are watching spec sheets and stuff, that you're actually seeing if they're certified or if they're just throwing HDR on there to add sell points. Because one thing I actually had to go and talk to their representative about was the actual nit brightness, the max peak brightness from the monitor, and it doesn't reach the HDR 400 spec. So HDR ready isn't really HDR. It might be like HDR 100. So just be careful about that. But still, 350 nits from that massive widescreen, that's pretty insane, guys. That's awesome. All of these monitors are going to have premium FreeSync support. And then this is, of course, a curved monitor at 1800R. And it also has a dual input feature where you can plug in like a display port from one computer and a display port from another computer. And you can drive two different computers off the same monitor, and it will, I don't know if it's in software or in hardware, it'll do kind of like a picture by picture kind of thing. So you don't have to deal with two different physical monitors on a particular screen. So I thought that was pretty cool. But this is the actual monitor I think is really cool from their Prime series. This is just a standard 27-inch 1440p monitor. This is the sorry about that, E275B monitor. It is a IPS panel with 144 hertz refresh rate with a 1 millisecond response time. HDR 400 certified. It's got the logos on there. It's got all the badges and stuff with a peak brightness of 450 nits. If you're looking for a decent gaming monitor, this could be a potential monitor to look for. The thing I might be concerned about is the price. I don't think they listed any of the MSRPs coming with this, but I think this is one of the better monitors that came out on their little list here. And to be honest, I wasn't really impressed with this larger version. This is their 32-inch. It's got similar specs for refresh rate and response time, but it's only the HDR 400 ready. So it's not going to be as bright, and if you're going to be playing HDR gaming, it might not be as good. And to be honest, I game on a 27-inch 1440p monitor. Going any bigger seems almost kind of like a waste to me. So of the Prime monitors, I would go with the 275B, unless, of course, you're going to go with the ultrawide. But they actually have a different ultrawide that I think is the better monitor for that. And that's this Nebula. Now, the downside with this one, it's not curved. It is a flat panel all the way across, but it's got some really good specs to go along with it. So it is only 44 inches, which is, 5 inches less. Size matters sometimes. Don't tell my wife, or don't ask my wife. Whatever, I'll get it. But it is rocking 3840 by 1080. So it's basically going to be, I think, two 1080p monitors side by side. Yeah, it's two 1080p monitors side by side. Refresh rate of 120 hertz with a 1 millisecond response time. And this guy's is HDR 600 certified. So it's going to be even brighter, and it's going to have a better dynamic range than some of the other monitors on this list. And it's even got a USB 3 hub on the back. So if you're looking for a widescreen monitor that's flat, I think it's a pretty decent option if you're looking into that. They got a couple, they've got one more widescreen monitor that they've got on their press release. This one it's weird. I'll put it that way. This one's going to be a 34-inch widescreen with a 3440 by 1440p. That just seems like a really bizarre resolution. I might be wrong. I'll post, I'll pin a comment down below if I'm wrong on these specs, by the way. But it's got a 144 hertz refresh rate, 3 millisecond response time, and it's only HDR 400 ready. So it's it's kind of a mix of, you know, the super duper wide screens of that they've just had and some of their standard resolution screens. And it just isn't as good of a performing monitor as some of the other ones either. So I thought that was kind of weird. And this bottom one actually isn't on one of their press releases. It's not in their pictures that they're putting out there either, but this is their 39-inch widescreen. It's a VA panel, which is, you know, kind of disappointing. Oh, this isn't even a widescreen. This is just a 1440p monitor. 39 inches. That's really weird. I don't know why this is here. And this refresh rate's really odd too. 165 hertz. When I was looking through the data sheet, it's only 165 hertz on DisplayPort. If you use HDMI, it's only 144 hertz. So I'm curious if that's like a HDMI 2.0 versus 2.1 thing, or if the monitor just can't handle it. They haven't actually measured the response time. They're still tweaking some of this stuff before it goes to market, similar with the brightness of the previous monitor. So these bottom two from the Nebula line, you might want to wait until you get some reviews from like Rtings, or maybe if they send me one for review, we'll have to see. But I think this top Nebula one, the HDR 600 certified one, I think that could be a pretty decent widescreen monitor if you're in the market for one of those. So that's what I got from Spectre, guys. That was a pretty cool little discussion I had with their PR marketing guy. It was pretty fun. I am actually kind of in the market. I'm kind of wanting to replace, like right now, my workstation monitor is a 4K LG 60 hertz. It's nothing fancy. I think it was like $300 from Sam's Club. It worked pretty okay, but it just wasn't, it's not fancy or anything. And then I've got a little 1080p Asus piece of crap TN monitor. It's terrible. And I kind of want to replace it with like a curved monitor, because that's kind of how it looks like here. I've got about a 90-degree angle on my bench here. And it'd be cool to replace these two with a single monitor, but I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for that. So that's why I was like really interested in seeing what Spectre had to say. Again, that 49-inch monitor I think is just freaking crazy. So the last vendor I talked to today, or got a response from, was from ADATA XPG. Do I have their websites? Excuse me. Do I have their websites up? I don't think I do. Sorry. Yeah, I was prepping mainly for that Nvidia AMD stuff earlier. I don't have any of that up. I will basically just have to talk to it. So we'll just throw this Nvidia press release here in the background while this is all playing. But basically, so let's talk with chat. Spectre is the TCL monitors. I saw the TCL presentation as well. I was actually pretty surprised with their phones that they're going to be releasing. Is it HDR10 or is it Dolby? I don't know. All right, well, let's talk about ADATA. So I already botched it when I first started talking to them on at their booth or whatever, and basically I just didn't realize that ADATA is I guess the parent company or the parent owner of the XPG brand. But basically in their press release, what they are releasing or have already released are 3 new Generation 4 NVMe drives that you guys might be interested in. It's the Gamix S70, S50, and the S50 Lite. If you're interested in all the data rates and all that stuff, basically going with the S70, you're reading at a whopping 7.4 gigabytes per second. S50 is reading at 50 gigs a second, and the S50 Lite is 39 gigabytes per second. And then the writes get interesting. You know, if you're not familiar with how storage controllers work, basically you usually write a lot slower than you do reading, especially to these types of devices. And the disparity between reading and writing only increases as your data rates are increasing here. So with the Gamix S70, you're going to be writing at 6,400 megabytes per second. The S50 is at 4,400 megabytes per second. And then the S50 Lite is going to be at 3,200 megabytes per second. So All of these are on the market right now. You just got to make sure to go and look up XPG instead of ADATA. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go for it. I honestly don't want to ask them for stuff because I really hate asking companies for products unless I really want to look at that product. So that brings me to the next thing that they're going to be releasing, and that is their Z Ultrabook. So I wasn't aware that XPG had a laptop, but apparently with the latest Intel releases, they're going to be doing a refresh of their Z laptops. This is a 15.6-inch laptop, and it's going to have an anodized aluminum chassis, which is pretty cool. And it's going to weigh in only at like 3.5 pounds, which I found was, pretty interesting. It's pretty light. I like it. But what I found concerning here was the Z laptop's battery length was only 16 hours. We saw it earlier in our video. The AMD battery is supposed to be between 17.5 and 21 hours. And since these are going to be refreshed with the latest 11th gen processors, why is the battery life so low? So it's like, where are they getting that metric from? I don't know. It's going to be running a 15.6-inch 1080p IPS panel, and it's going to have your option of either the i5 113570, the 357G, or the i7 11657G processors. You can find their links and all that information down below. But what I did find interesting is they are going to be putting their Gamix S50 Lite 1 terabyte NVMe into this machine, which is really cool that they're putting their own products into their own higher end products. So I actually talked to their people as I was at their booth, asking, hey, there's all these new processors coming from AMD that are just released, and what about all these new Nvidia graphics cards? And unfortunately, XPG doesn't have any interest in pursuing those options at the time. So you are stuck with the Intel Z integrated graphics cards, and you're just going to have to live with that performance that comes with that. So what you buy is what you get, or what you see is what you get. Last, also, they didn't really show this on their little digital, not storefront, but their digital CES booth. They're actually releasing a bunch of different chassis. They're actually going to be releasing an eATX mid-tower chassis. It can support 170 millimeter tall CPU coolers, which is pretty damn big. 380 millimeter long GPUs, which is, again, really large. It actually has a lot of good airflow. Let's see if we can actually pull up some of this stuff. I don't want to just be talking like nonsense, There we go. We got that paused. It's called the XPG Defender Pro eATX. It's not on screen. Yep, and I saw this. I went to this page earlier. Sorry if I'm not prepared for this, guys. We were just prepping for that other thing. I think this case just looks really cool. It's kind of got a it's got kind of like a fractal design look to it from the front, with a full meshed front panel with some fans, some colored RGB fans on the front. I think these are 3 of the XPG Vento 120 millimeters. What's my favorite PC case maker right now? Honestly, I don't know. I like Fantex. Fantex is pretty good. I'm really interested in seeing what XPG's got to offer, because I like how this looks. Given the airflow venting in the front, it looks pretty cool. And then it doesn't have any USB-C on the top, which would have been kind of nice. But I'm a fan of the high airflow stuff. I really want to try out a fractal design chassis as well. Another case that they've got coming out into the wild is called the XPG Starker. Starker Air. Not the China version. And it looks kind of similar to a Corsair H110. No, I forget what that's called. But basically it looks kind of like the Corsair, small form factor thing, but it's like a standard length one. Again, it's got vented fronts on some of the versions, but the other one doesn't have any, so that's probably going to get the Gamers Nexus thumb down approval rating. But it just looks like a standard case. They're claiming it's a compact ATX case. It doesn't look that much compact compared to other full-size ATX cases. So yeah, if I was going to get a new case from XPG, it probably would be that eATX mid-tower chassis, just because it looked like it could fit better, more customizable components and stuff. Next is the XPG Levante Pro. Unfortunately, there's no pictures of it on their website. It's basically going to be an improvement on their current Levante CPU. I was looking around on the internet. It's going to be based off of the Asetek 7th generation PWM pump, and it's going to have a 2.1-inch LCD screen on the pump. So if you're looking for a similar effect to what some of the NZXTs, or I think Asus has an LCD screen on the front as well, maybe that's something that floats your fancy, and maybe this one's going to be cheaper. I don't think any of these products have a price with it yet, other than their GameX SSDs from earlier. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to ADATA or XPG for some of your newer components. And then the last thing, I finally got some word that ADATA is going to be having some DDR5 modules coming out this year. They're going to be running at 1.1 volts with speeds up to 8,400 mega transitions per second. Transactions, sorry. I don't know what all that means. I haven't touched DDR5 yet. You guys know me. I like to talk about my engineering prowess. I haven't touched DDR5 yet, so it'll be interesting to see what ADATA and honestly what other memory manufacturers have coming up with the DDR5. I don't believe anyone this year is going to be having DDR5 platforms. The Z590 definitely doesn't support DDR5. I don't think AM5 is going to be out in 2021. It'd probably be 2022. So yeah, you're just going to have to keep peeled to the channel. And again, hit the subscribe button down below if you want to see more from day 3 at CES. But we'll keep you guys posted. Check out the Twitter as well for information there. But again, thanks for watching.